The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Melanated Politics.
I'm David Harper from PG County, Maryland, the DMV.
And I'm Eric Clark from Compton, California. Thank you so much for tuning in. How was your weekend?
My weekend and my week was really nice. Just kicked it with the family, you know, nothing big, just real chill. How about you? How was your week?
My week was excellent. Had a good time. Got some reading out of the way. Watch a few games, relaxed, got a peace of mind. Everything was excellent.
That's good.
To our viewers, every week we look forward to bringing you current local and national politics that affects the black community. So thanks again for tuning in, joining us right now. You can go ahead and call in at 323-293-3375. Newsflash. Right now, it is day 27 of the longest government shutdown in United States history. That's just one of the topics we will be discussing today, along with the latest Trump administration drama. Also, there's been recent news from Washington, D.C. That begs the question, is the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, a spy for the Russian government? But first, right here in Los Angeles, teachers who work for the Los Angeles Unified School District are on strike.
Now, here's the thing. The teachers being on strike is devastating for the students, and it's devastating for the teachers because they're not asking for billions and millions of dollars to fatten their pockets. They want smaller school sizes. They want more counselors at the schools. And this is a problem not just for L.A., but I'm glad L.A. is in the spotlight. Just last year in West Virginia, you had teachers striking in West Virginia. Back in 2011, you had teachers striking or really protesting in Michigan, Ohio, and Wisconsin. I have to give a shout out to a lot of educators I know in Michigan. Myra Reynolds, who is the principal at DSA, Detroit School of the Arts. Vicky Green, who's a teacher at Cass Tech. I got friends in Maryland, William Savage, Jarrell Stewart, both have been in education. And this is a problem that's nationwide. So it's right now, LA is on the spotlight. And one of the biggest problems we have is that Austin Butner, who is the superintendent of LA Unified School District, he comes from a business background. And whenever you start putting education as a business, it becomes a line item, and you don't get to see the human effect. You don't get to see the effect from the kids. They don't use the police department as a line item.
It's the fifth day of the strike regarding the teachers who work for the Los Angeles Unified School District. The strike is already costing anywhere between $10 and $15 per day because it's predicated on attendance. So that's just a fact of life. The other day, CBS television interviewed a few teachers on a show called LA Teachers Go on Strike After Failed Negotiations with the District. We have a small sample. Check it out.
More than 25,000 teachers in Los Angeles won't be going to work today after a breakdown in contract talks. The strike in the nation's second largest school district affects more than 1,000 schools and more than 600,000 students. A funding battle between teachers and the district follows similar walkouts last year in 6 states, starting with West Virginia. Tony DeCopel is outside John Marshall High School in Los Angeles. Tony, good morning.
Good morning. When the bell rings here, and in fact all across Los Angeles, school will be open, but it's likely to be very different inside. It'll be run by an emergency staff of administrators, volunteers, and substitutes, while teachers are out here on the picket line. It is their first strike in 30 years, and their argument is quite simple. If every public school kid is to get a chance, every public school needs more funding.
We are more convinced than ever that the district won't move without a strike.
The Los Angeles Teachers Union is trading chalkboards for street signs today.
You're no good.
After more than a year of failed negotiations with the LA Unified School District.
I came to LA Unified in the late 90s when there was class size reduction and classes were 1 to 20. And now my classes are double. It's hard to breathe. Hard to breathe in a class that size, let alone teach.
Noriko Nakata hasn't received a raise in more than 10 years. But she says what's really heartbreaking is watching her students suffer.
We have a nurse 1 day a week. So if you don't get sick on Wednesday, you're out of luck.
The Los Angeles public school population is one of the most vulnerable in the country. 80% of students qualify as low income. And yet California's public school funding per student lags behind the national average and way behind similar states like New York. Los Angeles Unified School District Superintendent Austin Bootner.
Is there not a crisis here with classrooms as large as 50 students?
Absolutely, it's a crisis. It's a state crisis. Not a local crisis. 90% of funding comes at the state level.
Okay, you saw Austin Bootner. He's a businessman, not an educator. Here's the tragic reality. California has the 5th largest economy in the world, the number 1 economy in the U.S. 2.9 trillion GDP. And it ranks 41st in spending on education, 41st. And we're talking about educating black kids, brown kids, but that's why this is so important for people to be in tuned. And it's terrible.
Well, there's approximately 25,000 teachers who work for the LAUSD, 1,000 schools, in addition, an additional 200 independently operated charter schools. There's 600,000 students enrolled in the Los Angeles Unified School District system. Mayor Eric Garcetti, he's been a mediator between both sides. There were negotiations last week on the 17th, and also there were negotiations yesterday. Now, regarding the district has offered an increase of 25 million to the budget, but the teachers are requesting a 6.5% increase over the next 2 years, effective immediately. As you stated prior, my dear brother David, they're also not only the 6.5 increase, the teachers are also requesting smaller class sizes and more nurses, more counselors, also regulation on the increase of charter schools. However, the teachers union, they say if we give this 6.5 billion, this 6.5 in pay increase, the 6.5 pay increase, it'll bankrupt the district. That is not true. This is not true.
Right. And
one last thing. Right. The reason why it's not true, because according to the teachers union, the district hasn't had a deficit in at least 5 years.
See, you hear it from the teachers. It looks like we have a phone call.
We have a phone call coming in, and thank you for calling in. Welcome to Melanated Politics. Tell us how you feel.
How's it going, brothers? How y'all going? How y'all doing this afternoon?
Doing well. How about yourself?
And
all right.
Tell our audience, thank you for calling in to Melanated Politics. Eric Clark.
David Harper.
What's your name? And go ahead and speak your mind.
I was just calling to let you guys know, this is Timothy Johnson. I called in last week.
Hey, Timothy.
Hey, good to hear from you.
I'm tuning in to you guys and, just touching on the subject of this strike that they're having in L.A.
So
I believe that it revolves around the money, of course. Like David said, they're making it a business, and it shouldn't be a business because it may sound cliche, but the future is within these schools. So, what are we teaching them? What are we giving them? If we're giving them nothing, what do they have?
That's the question.
When you deal with the minorities, the number of minorities in these schools, it kind of makes you feel like, do they even care?
You know, the bigger discussion on education really, in so many cases, revolve, like you said, around people of color, whether black and brown kids. Outside of the pay increase and smaller class sizes, the one thing that the teachers do stress is the reduction in charter schools. In charter schools, for people who don't know, there are some good charter schools. I'm not gonna go on here and bash charter schools, but charter schools, they do run loose and free. And a lot of times they don't benefit the community because you can close them and shut them down at a moment's notice. And when you close them and shut them down, what's that do to the students there instead of investing in money? So it goes back to what you're saying. What are they really teaching our kids? What are they really teaching the community?
Yeah, because you got to understand that when these kids grow up in society, they get out there and you got people telling them, you're not educated. You don't know enough. You didn't have enough schooling. It's not their fault when they can only use what they're given. If I only got one textbook, I mean, how much learning can I really do? If the teacher, can only, if she's handling 40, 50 students at a time, how much can she really do?
Right.
So
the burden is not really on the teachers. It's on the district to get it together and do what needs to be done to let these kids grow, because they're leaving them with no other options but these streets.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, let me ask you this. If you were in Los Angeles, are you in Los Angeles? Because the reason why I'm asking, if you were in Los Angeles right now and you had children enrolled in the Los Angeles Unified School District, also, if you were a teacher or you had a family or friend who was a teacher, would you support the teacher strike right now in Los Angeles? Bottom line.
Of course I would. Listen to what they're fighting for. They're not fighting for just higher wages. They're actually fighting for the cause of these kids getting better. Help me to help them.
Yes.
That's what they're saying. Help me help them. If you're not helping me, I can't help them.
Absolutely.
And that's what it boils down to. We have to help them, help these kids, because, like I said, their only options, especially in the inner cities like this, their only options is these streets, and we don't need that. You're
absolutely right. You're absolutely right about that. I have one last question for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I have one last question for you. You're aware of Betsy DeVos being the head of education for the Trump administration. Are you aware of that? She has no credibility, no background in public education at all. Are you aware?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that goes back to, what are they doing for us and who's running things. But we want to thank you for your call. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
As always.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. I'm tuning in every week.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm spreading the word.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys doing a great job, man. I appreciate y'all.
No, we appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Stay strong,
right,
brother. Stay strong. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
I mean, I think those comments. I think those comments were on point. I think the points he brought up about what are they really teaching, what are they really giving to the community, because that's really what it comes down to. What are they giving to the community? What they're teaching to the community, and it's black and brown. We're talking about black and brown, and we're talking about low income. We're talking about people that really need a strong public education. And if California can't do it, it's not really if they can't. It's why won't they?
What's up with the lottery tickets? Before I came here, some friends of mine, they were asking, hey, Eric, what's going on with the lottery tickets? The lottery ticket, the entire system is supposed to benefit California's educational system. We see what's going on right now with the teacher strike in Los Angeles, California. We see it. We just saw the footage. We just had that caller call in. Thanks again for calling in. We just had the caller call in. So it's a major issue right now in Los Angeles. As the caller also said, so much of this affects the inner city. So much of this affects the crowded classrooms. I mean, the lack of one-on-one learning with a qualified teacher, that affects the inner city, affects the black community more. Not even having a nurse, well, at least one nurse, one nurse, one counselor,
right.
in a lot of these schools. I mean, this is not anything new. This is something that's been going on in the Los Angeles Unified School District for a long, long time. And that's why we decided to go ahead and address the teacher strike. And we are optimistic that there will be some type of agreement. They will come to some type of terms, and we are hoping that the teachers stand their ground. I was listening the other day to a news outlet, and there was a vice principal of one of the local schools right here in Los Angeles, and she was stating that she teaches between 125 and 150 students, and she just passes out little worksheets, basic math, basic English, etc., and there's nothing else they really can do, because it's a tragedy that the district has all this money just sitting up and they refuse to pay these teachers. That so many kids, there's so many kids in school right now that they look at these teachers as parents. Absolutely. Not just as teachers, as parents, Absolutely. As mentors, as confidants, as someone that does not judge them. A lot of these underfunded schools in Los Angeles, I can promise you this, there's so many teachers that buy food for the students. They buy books, they buy papers, they buy ink pens, they buy pencils, they buy notepads, phones, computers, anything that's conducive to the progress and the success of these students as it relates to their education. These teachers in Los Angeles have done that. So for the district to to play games and to not meet the terms of the teachers that are on strike right now, it's beyond me. It's beyond me, David.
And it goes back to what I said. The superintendent has a business background, and he's looking at education as a business. Education isn't a business. You don't look at the fire department as a business. You don't look at the police department as a business. In no way in the world should you look at teachers and education as a business. That's the problem. Another thing that's an issue is that going back to voting, and we talk about here on Melanated Politics, we talk about voting. This is where voting is important, because if you care about your children, if you care about your kids, you're going to care about if their teachers are going to be supported. Your kids aren't going to be able to grow, learn, flourish unless they have a partner in the school system that's going to be for them. And right now, that is not the case. It is not the teacher's fault. It's the people running the school district, the LA Unified School District, the superintendent who, and let me just say this is a problem all over the country. I'm glad LA is on blast, because LA is the biggest state in the country. Second biggest state in the country.
Second largest population.
Second
largest population.
Second largest population in the country, and it has to, if it doesn't get right here, then where is it going to get right? And the school systems that, like they mentioned before, New York, really number one is like Massachusetts. You got Connecticut, New Jersey. You have a lot of large populous areas that do well in school, and they do have some charter schools, but the public schools are funded, and you do have a little bit of you do have some charter schools that do well, but it's definitely emphasis on public schools, and they do support charter schools, but it's not an overlap where you have like 50% public schools, 50% charter schools. Bottom line, the education conversation needs to go on.
And also, as far as bottom line, these are nothing but the residual effects of a broken education system.
Absolutely.
Los Angeles is just a prime example, as we see day five of a teacher strike in Los Angeles. That affects 25,000 teachers, 600,000 students. Day 5, 10 to 15 million per day. I mean,
I got a quick question for you, and I just thought about this, and I'll be real quick. Here in L.A., here in Inglewood, we're in L.A., Inglewood, they're building a billion-dollar football stadium.
Rams and
Chargers.
And Clippers.
Oh, and the Clipper Stadium hasn't even started, but it's a whole sports facility that's in Inglewood.
You can't tell by the traffic.
You can't tell by the traffic, right. They're building a new train track. You have the Staples Center. You have downtown L.A. You have a robust economy in the state, but yet you can't find money. You can't find money to help teachers teach kids.
They're only asking for a 6.5 increase.
That's it.
Over the next 2 years, and effective immediately. From the outside looking in, and also for someone that's been involved within the Los Angeles Unified School District and those teachers, it doesn't make any sense.
Nah. And that's the tragedy about this. None of it makes sense. Just like nothing, a lot of things aren't making sense with our government.
The government in our country right now. It doesn't.
I mean, what day is it now?
It is now. day 27. Day 27. Day 27 of the longest government shutdown in the United States history. I mean, wow. 800,000 federal employees without pay.
28,800 Forest Service employees furloughed.
18,000 Department of Transportation employees, no pay.
60,
or either furloughed.
Furloughed. See, 16,700 NASA employees. 96% of NASA staff furloughed.
16,000 National Park employees. Come on, David.
There's a lot of trash in the parks now. Them national parks ain't looking so pristine anymore. 13,705 EPA employees, 95% of all EPA. That's Environmental Protection Agency people have been furloughed. 750 employees remain. That's it.
And also, while we're going there, 7,100 Department of Housing and Urban Development employees, 2,000 janitors, security guards, and other federal building workers are going without pay right now on day 27 of the government shutdown as we speak. I mean, this is serious. These are people's lives that are at stake. These people are not thinking about policies. They're not thinking about Democrats, Republicans, Independents. They're thinking about, how do I pay my mortgage? How do I pay my child's tuition? How do I pay my medical bills? Okay. How do I just live my life with normalcy and a peace of mind, knowing that I don't have an income anymore? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You know, federal workers, they actually gathered in Washington, D.C. It was a lot of federal workers. They had a rally in Washington, D.C. NBC covered it. It was fantastic. We have a portion of it, of the federal workers. So I think we should go ahead and let the federal workers who had a rally in Washington, D.C. that are truly affected by this, these federal workers who rallied in Washington, D.C., passionate, affects their lives, let's listen to what they had to say.
Cash, not IOUs.
So here we are, brothers and sisters, out in the cold on a windy day to tell Mitch McConnell to stop hiding from reality and allow a vote to reopen the government, brothers and sisters.
I remind every politician on the Hill today, your allegiance is to the American people, not to an administration that has constantly attacked the working man.
The NASA engineers, the TSA workers, the nurses, the house cleaners, everyone who makes sure that we are safe in America, and everyone who actually makes America great.
The American people deserve our best. End this shutdown now.
End this shutdown now.
End the shutdown now. But you know what? President Trump refuses to budge off his $5.7 billion wall/border security. Look, President Trump, he's already met with Senate and House Democrats. He's already met with Senate and House Republicans. He's already met with bipartisan leadership in both parties together and separately, and he refuses to budge. The Democrats already offer $1.5 billion. He wants $5.7 billion. The Dems offer $1.5. He said no to all these different groups because of the bottom line. If brown-skinned immigrants continue to migrate to the United States at the rate that they are now, within 30 to 40 years, the United States, the U.S. of A, will no longer be a majority white country. Read in between the lines.
I think what you see here is basically President Trump sticking to his base, and his base being, you know, the angry white male vote, pretty much. The angry, let me just say this. I want to specify the angry white male from a certain ilk vote, because I don't want to put all white males or even angry white men all in the same boat. It's just the white men, and some white women, majority white men, that see the country changing and moving too fast. Because just think of this from a logical standpoint, just a practical logical standpoint. most of the drugs that are coming in are coming through port of entry. For those of you who don't know what port of entry is, it's basically through where everybody else comes through and goes through customs, whether it's the airport, whether it's the border, wherever port of entry is, the ports, and they're
That's
not.
a fact.
That's a fact.
And that's 90% of illegal drugs come through
Yeah,
the
that's
port of
90%.
entry through privately owned vehicles. That's a fact.
And so a wall doesn't it doesn't help that. It doesn't you know
what it helps? It helps the fear mongering.
It's a symbol.
It helps the fear mongering. It's a psychological and emotional tactic constantly used by Donald Trump, Trump voters, of the Trump propaganda machine, Fox News. I mean, it's a tactic. That's the bottom line. The southern border wall will not stop the flow of drugs within the United States of America. That's according to the United States government.
Well, you know, the sad part about this is that the Republican Party could end this if they wanted to, if they could do the House already passed a bill to open up the government, and all Mitch McConnell, who is the Senate leader in the House, in the Senate, all he has to do is put the vote on the floor in the Senate, and then all the senators vote on it. And there you go, government open. And I believe we have a call. Let's take this caller real quick. Hello.
Hello, how's it going, Eric? How's it going today?
Hey.
This is Kevin. How's it going?
Hey, Kevin. Hey. How's it going today? Thank you for calling in to Melanated Politics.
It's
tell us how you really feel.
Okay, for starters, I think it's really a great topic that you're covering with the LAUSD strike. And your comparison to the stadium and all the other construction that's built for entertainment venues just shows what a misplaced priority society as a whole has.
Absolutely.
Number two,
definitely,
I think the approach to increasing the quality of LAUSD schools is to have public schools that are modeled after charter schools and magnet schools. And what I mean by that, I think the curriculum is more useful.
Yes.
And you can actually steer kids toward career paths at an earlier age with a definite direction of where they're headed once they leave high school, because you can even give them vocational skills where college could even be an option if they choose not to. It's strongly encouraged that they do, but that's not the only way to, make it in this world, Well, the reason I say charter and magnet schools, I've taught adult learners, and one thing the adult learning model does, they have dedicated learning objectives that are tied to all lessons and curriculum. And when you do that, you're not giving kids education for the sport of it or education that's not really useful down the road. So I think that's one of the things that should be done for starters. And the teachers have the right to strike, because what they're doing really serves society a great purpose when you're generating the quality of life for the future and the kids, because that's going to determine what the quality of society will be for people like you and I based on the preparation that these kids getting now.
So, Kevin, let me ask you this. As someone with an advanced degree that has years of experience being a teacher, an educator, a professor, do you support the teachers that are striking right now? And also, what are the benefits of the strike, the teacher strike, from your personal perspective?
Well, I would have to look at that from several perspectives. I know there's a living wage issue and a cost of living issue. That's a given, especially in this region that's pretty pricey. But at the same time, I would hope that a strike would have qualitative factors associated with the quality of education that they're giving the kids. I would hope that a strike would be greater than just on the issue of teacher pay.
Right.
And it would be the teachers having the ability to increase the quality of the curriculum they deliver. And if it's a twofold aspect of the strike, I'm all for it. I mean, how could you not want to improve the quality of education and not say that's never an issue?
Right. Hey, Kevin, I have a quick question for you. This is David. Good to hear from you, brother.
Thank you, David.
I heard you mention, schools being modeled after charter and magnet, which I think is fascinating, especially from the charter standpoint. How do you feel about the teachers really wanting not to have as many charter schools? Because it's been and I'll say this personally, I know there's been a mixed bag with charter schools to public schools. Because charter schools can close at a certain point and not really benefit the community. Some charter schools have been amazing, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on the teachers not wanting to trim down the number of charter schools, feeling that they take some of the public funding away from traditional public schools.
And you hit the nail on the head, because personally I'm a product of public schools in Texas, and at the time I went to schools, public schools were as competitive as anywhere from the standpoint of college admissions, preparatories, SAT scores, the whole nine. Well, the reason being that usually legislation, particularly that by the conservatives and the right, are for the purpose of forming charter schools that can resegregate under legal auspices. And that for starters. And number two, as you said, you never see charter school development that doesn't distract away from public school funding. Now, if you could form charter schools and as you fund them at the same time, increase public school funding and give people a choice of what they would like to attend, that would be fine. But charter school creation, 9 times out of 10, always further neglects the already neglected public school system. So you notice I said like charter schools, magnet schools, I didn't say those schools.
Yes.
I'm a proponent of public schools myself.
Awesome. Hey, Kev, thanks for elaborating on that. We always appreciate your call. Please keep calling in and watching. We appreciate you.
Can I make one more point?
Absolutely.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
I noticed you talked about the wall, and the wall is nothing, like you said, but a vanity project to appeal to the base. The wall has already been proven that it could be breached and compromised, but you never see no mention of that. And like the Democrats are doing, they're providing funding options for border security, but not a wall per se, because that's not feasible, and it's to appeal to a base. And if you let Trump start that, he will bully the rest of the way through his presidency in the form of a dictator.
Okay, well, Kevin, I have to ask one more before you go. Do you consider there to be symbolism regarding the wall? And if so, speak on that before you go. We don't have a lot of time, but if you agree that there's symbolism regarding the wall, go ahead and speak on that.
Yes, the symbolism is appeal to a racist base to feel good about locking those Mexicans out, to put it more succinctly than I ever could. That's what it's about. It's to appeal to the fringe, hateful core of America with divisive politics, and that is symbolic in itself. You know, they don't care about anything else. If they can get that wall, it would almost be like likening being able to stick a stereotype to Obama as the worstest president ever. That would allow them to live the ultimate stereotype regarding black people, that we can let them do anything and they can't do it because we even let them be president and they couldn't even do that well. So it's symbolic in that respect. It parallels the ability to try to cast stereotypes upon others, which is really just a cry for self-adequacy from a psychological standpoint.
Well, Kevin, the intellectual capacity of your input is always acknowledged and just as importantly appreciated. Thank you for calling in to Melanated Politics.
Thanks, Kevin.
And sharing that with our viewers. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
It was my pleasure. You gentlemen have a good one.
You too, Kevin.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So what do you think?
Oh, man, Kevin, I love his insight. He's always thoughtful. And
is there anything about his call that may have stood out, any point, any perspective that stood out more than the others that you would like to elaborate on?
Just him being very honest, saying that wanting to keep the Mexicans out and wanting to keep. And here's the thing: they're from El Salvador and other parts of South America, but in a nutshell, it's to keep people that have melanin in their skin out of the country. That's what this is about, keeping melanated people out of the country. And it's the reality of where we are, but that's how That's how the president. That's how Trump got into office. He ran on it, and he rode, and he's still riding it.
But at the same time, I mean, it's nothing but drama within the Trump administration. That's the bottom line. I mean, I won't say to his credit, but I will say he is a man of his word regarding his base. Build the wall, build the wall, build the wall. One thing that he stabbed his supporters in the back as far as the people he was going to select.
Yes.
You can recall, I'm going to pick the best of the best of the best. I'm going to pick the best administration in the history of United States politics, period. You recall that, David.
Oh, yeah.
But you remember Jim Mattis, U.S. Secretary, now it's December 20th. He's going to retire.
Mm-hmm. Can't forget Jeff Sessions. Attorney General was fired on the day after the midterm elections, November 7th, 2018.
Nikki Haley, Scott Pruitt, Rex Tillerson, Hope Hicks. There are so many that just fired, quit, or just, get out of here.
And keep calling in. Tell us how you feel. We have another caller. Appreciate this.
Thank you for calling in to Melanated Politics. As always, tell us how you really feel. Thank you for calling in to Melanated Politics. As always, tell us how you
can you turn the volume down, the YouTube?
Can you hear me?
Can you turn down the volume on the TV or the computer?
Okay, I'll do that. Young man.
All right, thank you.
Okay. I'm Eric. I'm Eric Clark.
And I'm David Harper.
Thank you for calling in. Go right ahead.
I'm listening to you fellows talk about what we're going through with this administration. I'd like to shine some light on what I think we could possibly do to lighten the confusion about what's going on, how it happened, and what's to come. We don't know what's to come. We know what we're looking at, we know what we have seen, and we know what we have been through because of what we've seen. You're talking about your school, teachers on strike on the West Coast, and on the East Coast, you have the government shutdown. So we're suffering all over the country. So what we need to do is really focus on what we're seeing and how we shouldn't put too much power into the administration. We need to empower ourselves because of what the administration is doing. All of this comes as lessons for us to understand that as a people, we have to really concentrate on what the real deal is. And the real deal is not about the political issues. Yes, we have to vote. We have to have, let's say, a president. We have these two political parties. But does it really matter? What are we doing to help each other, and what are we doing for each other? Where is this going to take us as a people?
You know what?
There's a larger picture here that we need to look at.
You know, you didn't say who you were. It's very insightful what you're saying. Can you say who you are?
I can. Now, which side of me would you like? Side, or what would you like?
For folks that don't know who you are, I think you should now.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. My name is Vivian Smith.
You sound like a...
Hey. Nice. It's a pleasure to meet you, Vivian Smith.
I'm David's mother.
Hey. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. I thought it would probably be over some sweet potato pie and some apple cobbler. But hi, Mrs. Smith. Thank you for calling in. You made so many great points. Thank you so much for calling in.
Okay, well, you guys are doing a great job.
One of the things that you said that is dear to my heart is one of the problems is we talk about the problem too much instead of talking about solutions, although identification is very important. because a lot of times when you go to the doctor, you have to find out what the problem is, not just the symptoms of the problems. So the problems and the issues that we face as it regards to the shutdown, as it regards to the teacher strike, it has to be discussed. But more times than not, we do not spend enough time on not only talking about the solutions, but also putting the solutions into action. So my question to you is, what are the solutions that you would offer?
What solutions would I offer?
Yes, with the
okay. You said each of us as individuals should take a look at where we are and what our needs might be, because regardless, the chaos in the administration has been going on for 2 years, and it might continue for 2 more years. So I'm not saying not talk about it. We have to talk about it, but we don't have to stay there.
Understood. I was quiet the whole time because I learned how to be quiet when you talk. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Don't start now when Mom's calling on the show.
I know.
All of a sudden.
Yeah, I know. But definitely appreciate your call.
Thank you for calling in.
And
thank you
for
so much.
You're welcome. Have a great day and keep doing what you're doing, okay?
Thank you. Don't be a stranger.
I won't.
I know you won't. Thank you.
All right, you all have a great day.
You too. I got to say, that was a smart lady.
Thanks again for calling in. To my dear brother, David's mom, thank you again so much for calling in. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
She made some very important points. Very important points.
Real quick history about my mother. She's a retired deputy sheriff. She in Fairfax County. She was the third woman to retire her position, but the first black woman to retire her position in Fairfax County, Virginia. She's my hero. She's the reason why I'm here today. And so much of what she's talking about is very true. Donald Trump is a symptom of the bigger issue, and who he's, the decisions he made, whether it's choosing, like you said, the best of the best, which haven't been the best of the best, is really the sad part about this, because our country has allowed this to happen, and we have to work our way out of it. We have to look inward. We have to have shows like we're having now, Melanated Politics, and just talk about not just what's going on, but talk about solutions. And I love the question you asked her. What would she do? So as we proceed to this Trump administration, which we're going to talk about, I think you mentioned a little bit about Michael Flynn
well, as we proceed to rock the mic, right? We talked about the government shutdown. We talked about the shenanigans within the Trump administration. I mean, we gave you guys some names, people that quit, fired, told to walk out the door, however you want to word it. They're no longer here anymore. That's disingenuous rhetoric on behalf of Donald Trump during his campaign speech. Let's talk about the people that might go to jail. Michael Cohen. Paul Manafort.
Konstantin Kilmick.
Rick Gates, George Papadopoulos.
And, of course, Michael Flynn.
No. The lock her up man himself.
Isn't that a trip?
Trump's former national security advisor. He's went from lock her up to please don't lock me up.
And that's the truth of the matter. I mean, really, if you go back and you look at during the election cycle when Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were going head to head, before any of the states voted, Michael Flynn led the chant, lock her up. And now he is going in front of a judge, Mr. Emmett, who's saying, listen, if you don't get yourself straight, I'm going to lock you up. And he's saying, please don't lock me up. And that's the hypocrisy of what's going on. And furthermore, really quick, what makes this really bad is that all these people that we mentioned, Michael Cohen, Paul Manafort, and the rest of them, they've been indicted. Manafort's going to jail. Papadopoulos did a plea deal. Michael Flynn still has to do a plea deal before he goes to jail. And bottom line, the Republicans haven't done anything. This is a breach in our security. at the highest level, and the Republicans have been quiet. They haven't said anything. And Donald Trump has been able in this time to select two Supreme Court justices, two Supreme Court justices when his administration is under investigation. That's problematic, and the Republicans have not said, done, pushed back on anything. And real quick, early news. This dropped yesterday or the day before, or maybe last night. It's reported when Michael Cohen talked to Congress. When he talked to Congress, he told them that Donald Trump was doing business deals with Russia during the campaign on to build a building in Russia, on the Trump Tower in Russia. And Donald Trump advised him to lie to Congress. He advised him to lie to Congress. So Donald Trump lied twice. Well, he didn't lie in Congress twice, but he lied to the people twice.
Okay, these are layers or levels of shenanigans.
You saying it nicely, shenanigans. You saying it nicely, shenanigans.
Well, let's peel the scab off.
Let's do that.
Is the President of the United States a spy working for the Russian government?
I think
many news outlets have already reported on this. Many newspapers, many writers have already written about this. I mean, including The View on ABC. One of my favorites, Sonny Houston, who's not only the co-host, she's an attorney. She had some very brief comments regarding this, and she has a very brilliant legal mind. Let's listen to what Sonny had to say.
There was a counterintelligence investigation going on, because I think we all knew that there was an investigation going on into collusion and an investigation going on into obstruction. But the fact that the FBI opened up a counterintelligence investigation into the President of the United States.
What that means.
A counterintelligence investigation is basically an investigation by the FBI to determine whether or not the sitting President of the United States is a foreign spy for a foreign power. That floored me. In fact, I was driving into work this morning with my mom, and my mom said, she's never floored about anything, and she said, is it possible that the sitting United States president is a Russian spy? And I just said, I don't know. And I don't know.
That's the thing, though. I don't think anyone.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. It's looking like, yeah, he's a tool for the Russians. He's doing what he's doing, and Sonny said it all. Sonny said it all. I mean, nothing more to be said after what she said.
There is more to be said.
True.
On October 31st, 2016, David Cohen of Mother Jones Magazine wrote an article entitled, "A Veteran Spy Gave FBI Information Alleging a Russian Operation to Cultivate Donald Trump." On April 19, 2018, Matt Taylor from Vice had a similar article called, "If Trump is a Russian Spy, this is how they're using him." On January 11th, last week, David, 3 writers from the New York Times, Adam Goldman, Michael S. Schmidt, and Nicholas Fandos wrote an article entitled, "Open Inquiry Whether Trump Was Secretly Working on Behalf of Russia."
Well, I don't know in the courts, if it was a brother in court and they threw all that evidence, they would say it was enough circumstantial evidence to throw us in jail. They would do that in a heartbeat. And there's enough evidence, there's enough connecting the dots to see that he has a business relationship with Russia. Russia definitely has interest into toppling and crippling our democracy. They've always have. And what you're seeing right now is a president who is in the crosshairs of Robert Mueller. He's the leader in the special counsel in this investigation. And going back to the Republicans, they're not defending. Forget party. They're not defending the country. And this is where this particular situation affects black people, where it affects the black community. Russia was able to manipulate Donald Trump into pushing the hateful agenda that's already existed. The white supremacist agenda, hateful agenda, has always existed, but it used to exist more in the background in secret. He pushed it up front.
You remember when Donald Trump said President Obama is weak? and Vladimir Putin is a strong leader. Was this before or after he offered him a $50 million suite in the maybe a future Trump Tower that Michael Cohen was negotiating on behalf of Donald Trump? So it's like connect the dots. It's just so many physical, so much circumstantial evidence, and so much common sense that one can apply to their own brain if you're not biased, if you don't live in a bubble. Donald Trump may be a spy, according to everything that we just recited. You can do your own evidence. We gave you small, detailed information. You can do your own research. Okay, his administration is in shambles. Okay, do your research, look at your evidence. And right now, I would like to tell our viewers, everyone right now, we are living in a very critical time on planet Earth right now in the United States of America. We're back in the Woodrow Wilson, Theodore, Teddy Roosevelt day. I mean, we have a racist president of the United States. When you look at his policies, he's not fit to be the president. He's very unethical. He has not hired the right people. I mean, so it's just the list goes on and on and on and on. And this does affect the black community 100%.
I don't know if you guys know this, but Donald Trump has basically given the go-ahead for people to be open with their racism. And for some people, especially for black people, that might be good because at least we know you're not hiding anymore.
Yes.
And, okay, show me who you are. Okay, now I know who you are. The issue is now, what are we going to do about it? Because this isn't so much, okay, we know racism and hatred and bigotry. I mean, it's existed from the existence of when this country was invaded by the Europeans. But at the same time, you have to look at what are we going to do about it because they have power. Donald Trump is the president. We have a white supremacist as a president, and the Republican Party has a bunch of many white supremacists in their party. People that we talked about this a lot, and we're going to continue to talk about this a lot on Melanated Politics. Steve King, he's been on the news for a lot of stuff that he's been talking about, the racist comments he's made, talking about when did white nationalism become an issue. That's Donald Trump's number one dude, one of his number one dudes. Steve Scalise, you heard us talk about him. I think it was last week. Steve Scalise, he talked to a hate group, a white supremacist hate group. He's in leadership. He's been in leadership in the Republicans for years. So this isn't Donald Trump isn't the first, nor is he the last, and he's not the biggest. It's filtered, but the bottom line is very important for people to understand that when you have these politicians in power writing policies, it's going to hurt us as a community. It's not going to help us. When you have people say, what's the difference between the Democratic and Republican Party? Listen, the Democratic Party has its issues, but the Democratic Party is more people of color, more women, more reflection of what the country looks like, and it's going to have more of an ear to the black community. I know it hasn't always been there for the black community, but it's going to have more of an ear where the Republicans want to shoot off that ear, and that's not hyperbole. That's real. They don't want the black community to grow and flourish. They don't want black people to be to elevate to a different level in society. They want the talking point of, hey, we can play sports, hey, we can go to jail, and there's this small slither of black people who may be able to exist in this country. And the proof is just look at everything up. The proof is in how they govern. When Jeff Sessions became Attorney General, he stripped down the Voting Rights Act.
He did.
He stripped down the Voting Rights Act. And what he also did was take away some of the agreement that the police in the black community had under the Obama administration. Once all the police shootings were at a heightened level, President Obama, Eric Holder put in different implementations of basically proper procedures. Excuse me, I get very passionate about this.
It's okay.
Proper procedures of how to engage.
Say, take your time.
I'm gonna take my time. Proper engagement to the community. Jeff Sessions stripped away certain guidelines because he wanted the police to be free flowing. We know there's good police. We know there's police that don't need to be wearing a badge because they don't protect everybody. So let's just be honest.
Going back to those that are alive right now that are fortunate enough to be on planet Earth right now, I beg the question, what did you do when you found out Donald Trump was a racist president? Did you sit on the sidelines and just enjoy your creature comforts in your own life? Or did you think about future generations? Did you think about, are you on the right side of history or are you not on the right side of history? There's no gray areas. It's either you're right or you're wrong. It's good or it's bad. It's hot or it's cold. So we live in a very crucial time right now in U.S. political history. And as we always say on the show, we define politics as war without bloodshed, and melanated is the essence of color. Melanated politics, the essence of color. Politics, war without bloodshed. We are so thrilled to have brought you all of this information on this day. Thank you so much for tuning in. One more special shout out to all 3 callers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
In the future, every week we will continue to update you on the latest and the greatest local and national politics as it relates to the welfare and the success of the black community as a whole. Real quick shout out to our producer, Sheena, the one and only poetess. And also, before we go, one side note, Michelle Obama's book.
Yes.
And also,
it's her birthday.
And yes, go ahead.
It's her happy birthday, Michelle. Just want to say happy birthday. You know, we love to have you on the show here at Melanated Politics. You're more than welcome. You can bring your husband too. Barack is more than welcome. You know, we're not throwing any shade. Barack can come through, but Michelle, thank you so much.
I don't know about that.
Well, happy birthday to Michelle Obama.
Just make sure you come, Michelle.
Yes.
Happy birthday. Congratulations on your memoir.
And
top seller.
Top seller. Your book is top. Actually, my wife read her book. My father-in-law read her book. I haven't read it yet, but I hear it's a wonderful book. Great read. I saw it on the shelves in the airport. Everybody's been reading it everywhere. And we also want to say 53 years ago on this day, 1966, Robert Clifton Weaver was confirmed as America's first black cabinet member, which is so important for people to know here on Melanated Politics. Robert Clifton Weaver, the first black cabinet member in the U.S., which is really huge. And one last point on Melanated Politics. I know you hear us talk about issues, how politics affect the black community. Very much like what Eric said when he said, Donald Trump's a racist. And which is very true, his racist background, and he's running things. But let's take the let's take the blackness out of it for a second. He's a criminal. Okay, let's say, for instance, you're white and you're looking at us. You're like, they talking about too much black stuff. Okay, we talk about too much black stuff. That's fine. We're melanated politics. But let's just for a hypothetical point, let's take the blackness out of it. Just look at his record. He's not qualified.
It's horrible.
He's a crook.
It's horrible. Go ahead.
And it's horrible. Yes, it's definitely horrible. He's working for a foreign country.
Your mom is watching. Go ahead, bro.
He's working for. I'm trying to get my language right. He's working for a foreign country in Russia. If you're a apple pie, red-blooded American, doesn't that make you mad that he's working for Russia? Didn't you see Rocky IV? Remember that? Doesn't that make you mad? That what would Reagan say?
Drago,
what would Reagan say right now? What would Reagan say right now if he saw you support a guy who's all the work Reagan did? Oh my goodness!
Now fast forward from Rocky to 2019. What will Mitch McConnell say? What has he said?
Nothing.
Zero.
Nothing. Zero. So, again,
thanks again for tuning in. Melanated Politics.
Next week we'll probably extend the teacher strike and of course the government shutdown, unless things change. You know, things are organic here in Melanated Politics. Thank you for tuning in.
So when you watch us, our tongue will always be our gun, and our wisdom will be our ammunition. For David Harper
and Eric Clark.
Peace.